What's up everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we've got some interesting information to go over, but before we get into all of that, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. Now we're going to first start off with, is there some purposeful misinformation being spread about the PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch sales going on? I've noticed it quite a bit, especially on social media sites like Twitter, which is trickling into different people making comments on my threads about sales or on other places, because it does seem like you have some confusion on how the sales numbers work for the MPD. And now people are even starting to report things that aren't necessarily true. And when people come in there and try to say, hey, well, wait a minute, no, this is what the MPD says, or this is the facts about the MPD, they don't remove tweets, they don't adjust what they say, they don't put another tweet there, they're just leaving that stuff up. So I just wanted to go in and kind of say, let's make sure that we actually get the right information out there, because I'm all about having the right information on the sales data. So recently, the July 2022 MPD was released, and it showed that the Nintendo Switch was actually the top system sold for last month and for the year. And out of the last 40 something months, the Nintendo Switch has been the top system sold. But pretty much every month it's been here in the MPD, and it's been the best selling system worldwide consistently. But that's something that we've already known based on the facts that are out there. However, you do have some larger PlayStation accounts. I did see Mr. Hunter, or Next Gen Player over on Twitter. This guy does have 56,000 followers, and his tweet got a lot of traction, which once again is causing some people to come over to other places and say, no, PlayStation 5 sold the most, or no, it's not that way, PS5's catching this, or it's doing certain things, because people seem to be spreading misinformation on purpose and not adjusting their information once people tell them, hey, well, wait a minute here, hold up, that's not correct. So this is the tweet that I did see. It says PlayStation 5 is still the best-selling console of 2022 according to NPD, and he links PlayStationLifestyle.net. And that's where the confusion, or that's where the problem is. This had 1,773 likes. So there was quite a bit of traction with this. A lot of people quote tweeting and saying, oh, well, this is what Sony's doing and stuff like that. And listen, the PlayStation 5 is selling absolutely fantastic. We all know this. The Xbox Series is selling fantastic. We do know this as well. And the Nintendo Switch is selling really good. All three systems are doing great. It reminds me of the 7th generation with the Wii, PlayStation 3, and the Xbox 360. All of the systems ultimately ended up selling really well, but with the Nintendo Wii selling the best, followed by the PS3 catching the 360 at the very end. And then of course 360 was third place, but still very good when it comes to overall sales. And that's what we're seeing right here, maybe even a bit better. So really this isn't about, hey, console wars and all that. I don't really play that stuff. I don't really care. At the end of the day, I have a PlayStation 5. I have 2 PlayStation 5s. I have multiple Switches, and I have an Xbox Series X, and I always buy all the different platforms. But I don't like to see misinformation from large accounts and then them not fix what they said that was clearly misinformation, and he's getting the replies and stuff that are clearly misinformation, but he still leaves it up there. So let's make sure that we fix this so everyone is clear exactly what is going on, what's number one, dollar sales versus actual sales, and everything like that. So for the July MPD, once again, the Nintendo Switch was the top system sold. So physical units as in purchase, Nintendo Switch sold the most for July and for the year. The PlayStation 5 led in dollar sales. So since the PlayStation 5 has 2 variants, it has a $400 variant and it has a $500 variant, that dollar amount is higher than the Nintendo Switch's 3 different variants, which is $200, $300, and $350. Now, does the dollar sales actually matter when it comes to what a company is looking for versus unit sales? Well, it's kind of interesting. I think that dollar sales are definitely something that's revenue being pulled in, but I feel that companies usually like to see profit margin more. Sony is happy with the amount of PlayStation 5s they're able to push out, especially with a chip shortage going on that is hitting everybody when it comes to Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, and also other tech companies. So we'll discuss that in a bit with some more misinformation or some more weirdness that's going on that some PlayStation fans are putting out there that are in the media. But at the same time, profit margins are probably what you're looking for. Now, with the PlayStation 5, you're probably having a pretty slim profit margin on each system being sold because of the tech and how new it is for the most part. I'm guessing that Sony isn't making much, or maybe they're even losing a little bit. I know that they've probably talked about it in their reports and everything, but for the most part, what I know is that they don't make a ton of money off of each unit being sold. Where they make a lot of money off of is the games and also the PlayStation Network, the memberships, all of that stuff. The royalties from their PSN is a big money maker for them. For the PlayStation 4, Sony made so much money off of PSN. That's why they really focused in on making sure that they have a all digital system for the PlayStation 5, which locks people into PSN. That's the only place that you can buy your games. So PSN is one of those places that does make a lot of money. So Sony is more worried about the flow of that. So the more systems being sold gives more people access to PSN, which then in turn you make more money. Now with the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo has always been about actually making money off of the unit itself and also the games. They were late to really get into the online space with the digital games and all of that. They had it a bit with the Wii, but still full price games weren't on there. Then finally with the Wii U, they got into it. But with the Nintendo Switch, they're selling more games digitally now than they've ever sold, but they still make profit on each system being sold. And now with the Nintendo Switch being 5+ years old and the tech getting pretty old at this point, they're definitely making more off of each unit being sold than Sony or Microsoft is making off of their systems. So the Nintendo Switch probably has a much higher profit margin per system sold. So it's not like, once again, a console war thing where this is better than that and I'm trying to put it inside people's faces. That's not it at all. We're just getting the facts out there in terms of what a company is looking for and kind of what is going on, so we can clear up this confusion that people are clearly putting out there when it comes to these sales and everything. So PlayStation 5 #1 for dollar sales because it's the most expensive system. However, the Nintendo Switch is still beating it in unit sales. So that's really what's happening with that. Now, I do want to clear up another thing here. There's been some people that are also starting to spread information. The PS Vortex podcast starting to spread some information that PlayStation is dealing with a chip shortage, and that's the reason why it's not beating quote unquote Switch out there. Listen, all of the systems are dealing with chip shortages, and I wanted to make sure that I say this because it seems like some people are starting to kind of trickle in and say, oh, well, Sony's dealing with the chip shortage. If they weren't, they'd be doing 10 times better and everybody else would be like blown away. And it's like, well, they're all dealing with the chip shortage. Nintendo themselves has stated multiple times that they are dealing with the chip shortage. There are multiple times when people have went into stores to try to buy a Nintendo Switch OLED and it's not there. Pretty much every Nintendo Switch OLED that ships sells. Every single one for the most part. Now, you might find some stores in some areas that do have it here in the US or around the world that they do have normal stock or units, but in a lot of places, whenever Nintendo ships out that Switch, it's being sold. So it's not like Nintendo isn't shipping and selling a lot of those systems and aren't dealing with their own chip shortage problems, which we'll talk about in just a bit again when it comes to Nintendo doing things to help with the shortage and the distribution and what's going on. And I'm thinking to myself, well, all these systems are dealing with the chip shortage, so I mean, that's really the truth at the end of the day. And hopefully the chip shortage does get better. It does seem like there are more units trickling in and that PlayStation and Microsoft are trying to do their best to supply units, especially as we get close to some big games coming out this holiday. So let's hope that the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5, and Microsoft with the Xbox Series S and X can supply enough systems for people to have this holiday with some big games and everything. But what do you guys think about this when it comes to the misinformation that's going on here? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, now moving on to the next topic, I wanted to discuss a very interesting interview with Mr. Tokita, who was the producer of A Live Remake, and he has put out some information saying some some interesting things about the game. Apparently, the remake only happened because Nintendo asked for a re-release. Interesting there. So, in an interview, here is what Mr. Tokita had to say. The first game he directed, he's very attached to it, but as a producer, he recognizes it was a commercial failure and never thought it'd come up for a remake. Now, he's talking about the original Super Nintendo game, and it was a commercial failure, so he's like, hey man, this game is done forever, but he got the opportunity. The impulse came from Nintendo, who asked them to put the game on Virtual Console for the 20th anniversary. Some people over there really liked the game. There would never have been a remake without them unearthing Live A Live to begin with. The game is obviously a melting pot of influences. He wanted people to experience all kind of situations and to be showing of what games could bring to the table as a medium. The game's script was purposefully wrote to be impactful in a very manga/anime way, leading to the stuff like the Sodaro Matsu in the post Just Before Me. It was always wrote as if it would be voiced. Tokita himself wanted to be a voice actor before entering the game industry, and it was very knowledgeable about the Japanese VO culture. Asano's team HD 2D engine reveal was a "you did it, you mother bleeper" moment for Tokita. The development went very smoothly, generally speaking. Music was a very important undertaking. They didn't want to denature the soundtrack and spent some time deciding what tracks should have live instruments, etc. So very interesting interview when it comes down to it, essentially saying that Live A Live only happened because of Nintendo, and if it wasn't for Nintendo staff in Japan liking the game back when they played it back in the day when they were younger or whatever, then this would have never happened. Man, so crazy how these things all work out. I played and beat Live A Live. I think it's a phenomenal game, and it's one of those games that everybody should just experience. You might not like it, but you know what? It's one of those games that's just so unique. There's not really many other games that are like it out there, especially games released here in the West. So to see Square Enix listen to Nintendo on that front and say, okay, we're going to do Live A Live because you guys like it, and the game ended up doing pretty well. We know that it sold over 100,000 units in Japan already, so I'm guessing that the game is on its way to 1 million at some point here. So very good. But what are your thoughts when it comes to Live A Live and the remake? And do you plan on maybe picking this game up? Have you already played it? What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the next topic here, guys. It looks like Nintendo will be shrinking the size of the Switch packaging to improve the supply. Now, we've talked about the chip shortage before in the first topic here, so I wanted to get into what Nintendo's actually doing to help out. Now, Nintendo is reportedly planning to shrink the size of the Nintendo Switch packaging by 20% in August as a way to improve supply, according to a report from the Nikkei. The smaller packaging will improve supply of the Nintendo Switch worldwide, as it will make shipping more efficient. Quote, Nintendo will reduce the outer box of the flagship game console, Nintendo Switch, by 20% from production in August, reads a translation from the Nikkei report. The aim is to increase the amount of supply to the world by improving transportation efficiency. Now, Nintendo for the quarter ending June 30th, 2022 shipped 3.43 million Nintendo Switch units to bring the lifetime shipment figure up to 111.08 million. The gaming company at the time did not change its forecast as it looks to ship 21 million Switch units for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023. If Nintendo hits its forecast, the Switch will ship 128.65 million units by March 2023. So interesting there when it comes down to it. Nintendo's trying to improve the efficiency and everything, and this is probably going to be a great way for them to get that done, making the box smaller. And I actually like the smaller box that the Nintendo Switch OLED ships in compared to the regular Nintendo Switch, like the V2 Switch and all that. So this is definitely a good thing to make the boxes smaller, pack everything a little bit more tight. Now you have a bit more efficiency on the line there and getting it out to customers. So definitely a good thing here. But what are your thoughts on all the different topics here, from what we discussed with the misinformation, also Live A Live, and Nintendo Switch shipping situation? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.